Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 24th, 2012 Pittsburgh Board of Public Education Legislative Meeting. Before we begin this evening, I'd like to ask everyone to please turn off all cell phones and pagers or put them on vibrate. Would everyone please rise so we can salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As is our tradition and procedure before the legislative meeting, we like to recognize students and employees of the Pittsburgh Public School District. I'd like to ask board members to please come forward, and I will turn this portion of the meeting over to Ms. Heather Hobson.
Thank you, Ms. Hazuda. This evening, we are presenting the first Distinguished Achievement Award for the 2012-2013 school year. Before the year was even underway, Pittsburgh Kappa student Ronald Butler was hard at work. How the 8th grader spent his summer back in 2011 has led to an award this evening. In 2011, in July, Ronald attended the District Summer Dreamers Academy, where he signed up for the Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation Camp DEC, which stood for Design, Explore, Create. Ronald, along with 22 other students, met with architects, engineers, landscapers, and other professionals and designed park replicas. The landscape engineer job caught Ronald's attention, and he later designed a park in the shape of a piano. Ronald wanted his work to come to life, so Camp DEC instructor and PHLF Executive Director Louise Sturgis suggested he reshape his idea to fit a corner lot PHLF had acquired in Wilkinsburg. Ms. Sturgis also shared Ronald's remarkable concept with other members, including Harry Golby, a former pianist. Golby unfortunately passed away the following month, and Ronald's vision was incorporated into the community garden already being developed by PHLF in Wilkinsburg to pay tribute to Mr. Golby. This Saturday, Piano Place will be dedicated at 1 p.m. at 502 Jeanette Street in Wilkinsburg. Please join me in recognizing our honoree this evening, Pittsburgh Kappa student Ronald Butler. He'll be joined with his family. This concludes our Distinguished Achievement Awards, but we are requesting the board remain for a special presentation from graduates of Schenley High School. This evening, we are joined by 2 alumni who want to ensure the school's legacy lives on for years to come. Point Park University student James Hill and CCAC student Tyler Little would like to return the Schenley class key to the board. The key was a gift from board members to Schenley's first graduating class back in 1917. They also brought along other pieces of history, yearbook covers dating back to 1916 from every Pittsburgh high school, and Schenley's 1917 class photo. The key, as mentioned, was a gift from the board back in 1917 to the graduating class, and today they would like to present the items, the key, back to the board as well. Thank you. This concludes our presentation for the evening.
Thank you, Ms. Hobson. Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley,
Here.
Mrs. Scalese,
Here.
Mrs. Fink,
Here.
Dr. Holly,
Here.
Mr. Eisler,
Present.
Mr. McCray,
Here.
Ms. Shealy,
Here.
Mr. Sumter,
Present.
Mrs. Azuda.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Sumter to please share our core beliefs and commitments.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. The Pittsburgh Board of Education is committed to educating every student to their highest level of academic achievement. We want to make sure that that's carried out in a safe and orderly working environment for all students and staff. We want to provide the necessary support for that activity to do that in an efficient and effective manner. We want to make sure that resources are distributed in an equitable fashion throughout the district to meet the needs of students to the maximum extent feasible. And last but not least, we want to ensure, improve parent-community engagement in the process. All 5 of those collectively will improve the governance of this board and hopefully result in higher achievement in the district. Thank you, Mr. Azuda.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter.
You're welcome.
Will everyone please turn to the minutes from last month? Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions?
Move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2012 legislative meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes stand approved as read. At this time, I'd like to read the executive session statement. In addition to executive sessions announced at the legislative meeting of September 26, 2012, the board met in executive session on October 17, 2012, October 21, 2012, and immediately before this legislative meeting to discuss various personnel matters that may include, but are not limited to, administrative vacancies and positions open and closed. Finally, at the executive session immediately before this legislative meeting, the board discussed student discipline cases that involve violations of various portions of the Code of Student Conduct. The board does not vote at executive session. We'll begin first this evening with the committee report on education that is before you, submitted by Ms. Shealy and her committee. If you would please turn to page 10 of 10 of the report. I would like to give you the student suspension, transfer, and expulsion numbers for this month. There are 22 students suspended for 4 to 10 days, no students suspended for 4 to 10 days and transferred to another Pittsburgh public school, 1 student expelled out of school for 11 days or more, and no students expelled out of school for 11 days or more and transferred to another Pittsburgh public schools. There were no items pulled from the committee report on education for further discussion. Is there anything from that committee? Was there? I thought it was just the business finance. Okay. So we want to okay, 21. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. I'd like to direct the board's attention to item number 21, which also is on page 10 of 10. I'd like to read into the minutes some additions to that item. Donation from International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Local 1, Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire, Pittsburgh Conroy, Pittsburgh Minadeo, pre-K through 5, Pittsburgh Greenfield, pre-K through 8, and Pittsburgh Mifflin, pre-K through 8. Furthermore, after the sentence that ends enrolled in Pittsburgh Conroy, there is an additional sentence. In addition, Pittsburgh Minadeo pre-K through 5 will receive 170 coats for students. Pittsburgh Greenfield pre-K through 8 will receive 107 coats for students, and Pittsburgh Mifflin pre-K through 8 will receive 100 coats plus 6 coat vouchers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lang. Are there any items anyone would like to discuss? Not seeing any. Mr. Brentley.
Yes, I want to just send out a congratulations, I believe, for number 18. This is dealing with the Manchester Library. And I met some of the members on the committee, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was today that they were having a ribbon cutting. And if I'm not mistaken, I was invited, and I told them I had earlier were obligations here. So if that is correct, I want to just send out a congratulations to all of the hard work to put it together, and to especially the countless volunteer hours given to the district on behalf of putting the library together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Are there any other items anyone wants to discuss? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley,
Yes.
Mrs. Khaleesi,
Yes.
Mrs. Fink,
Yes.
Dr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. Eisler,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Ms. Shealy,
Yes.
Mr. Sumter,
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda.
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. We'll now move on to the committee report on business and finance submitted by Mr. McCray. Item number 6 in the committee report on business and finance, to authorize the contract with Grant Communications to provide the district with the Pittsburgh Educator, was pulled for further discussion at agenda review. Are there any additional items board members would like to pull for discussion at this time? All right, seeing none, let's begin discussion on number 6. Any comments, questions? Anyone?
Yes. My question is, and I'm the one who actually wanted this poll. The group that's actually doing this work for us is coming out of Massachusetts, so I was wondering why we couldn't get anyone that was in Pittsburgh to actually do a newspaper for us.
Dr. Holly, I brought a copy of the Pittsburgh Educator so that we could all remember what the format of it was. The group that we use is a specialized group. This is what they do for school districts across the country. So we actually have a more cost-effective option, since this is kind of a template approach that they do for others. So this is a specialized firm that this is all that they do. So we don't have firms like that in Pittsburgh.
I just find that, I'm not saying that, what you're saying isn't true, but I'm finding it hard to understand why, I'm finding it hard to understand that there is no one in Allegheny County that could actually do this work. It's not a lot of money, but I do believe that a newspaper, you can hold that back up so people can see it. It's a nice little newspaper, and I enjoyed reading it. However, I believe that that can be done in Pittsburgh or in Allegheny County. There has to be somebody here that can do that. And it's not that I'm trying not to have someone outside our area do this work, but I think we should try and patronize those people that live in this area as much as possible. So I won't be able to support that, because I really do believe that $27,000 should be for a company that's here.
Thank you. Mr. Brentley?
I also just wanted to add on that, is this the $26,857? Presently, this is coming out of the communications and marketing budget, or where are these dollars coming from?
Yes, marketing and communications.
Now, this would be dollars coming from, if I'm not mistaken, there are 3, if not 4, open contracts that are presently with communications and marketing. Which company will these dollars be coming out of?
Mr. Brentley, this is not coming out of any of the consulting contracts that we have or graphic design contracts that we might have, if that is what you might be referring to. This is a specialized firm that does newsletters for K-12 districts across the country, and so it is paid directly to them, and this board tab is made out directly to them.
Okay. Was this a bid item that we put out for bid to solicit bids from local and national folks to put in a bid?
No, sir, it was negotiated, and the price of this has not gone up in the 3 years that we've been using this firm.
Okay, well, I am in support of my colleague, Dr. Holly. I will not be supporting it, but Dr. Lane, I just want to once again raise a flag as the chair of the Women in Business Minority Committee. When we have negotiated contracts, oftentimes it locks out individuals who have not established a relationship with staff or employees to get access to be able to bid on work. And so while it may be beneficial in some cases, a lot of times it is simply a tool that locks people out. And so I would like to see at some point, Dr. Lane, I'd just like to see over the last couple of years the dollars that we have spent in communications and marketing, especially if we're having 3 contracts. I've raised concerns a year or so ago. There are 3 open contracts with an automatic renewal, unheard of. And it's just the dollars we just continue to spend. And now in this case, we're not even attempting to establish local relationships with local women-owned or minority businesses. And so I can guarantee you that whatever services they are providing here, that if given an opportunity, we would have a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 individuals who not only can step up and do it well, but can do it where the information is timely when it is reported. So if we're in a financially tight situation, we have to begin to do some things a little different. So Dr. Lane, I'm going to ask you, I think we can place it on either the Education Committee or some committee report, the dollars that we're spending in communications. If the population of students is going down, but the budget for communications is going up, something's not making too much sense here. And so I am asking for a complete report. If we go back for the last 4 or 5 years, the kinds of dollars we spent and what did we actually receive for those dollars. So I will not be supporting this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Are there any other comments? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley?
Yes on the report. I'll be voting no on page 3 of 6, numbers 6.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes on the report as a whole, no on page 3, number 6.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes on the report as a whole, no on item 6.
Same item. Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
The report's approved and item 6 is approved 6-3.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Let's now move to the report on personnel that is before you. Are there any questions on the personnel report? And with this, we'll go around the table. Mr. Brentley?
I do not see it, but there were some other recommendations. I just want to check with my colleague. Is this report satisfactory to my colleague and educator on the board, Dr. Holly? Thank you very much. That's all I need. Thank you.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
I just want to recognize we have some retirements, and I'd like to recognize that these people have given us a great deal of their lives, and I think that we should show respect to that, and we thank them for their services throughout the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Khaleesi. Mrs. Fink? Dr. Holly?
Yes. No, I don't have anything. I'm fine.
She's ready to vote. All right, Mr. Eisler?
No, thank you.
Mr. McCray?
I just want to recognize and thank any of our employees that are in the military for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Mr. Sumter? Ms. Shealy? All righty. Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please, on the report on personnel?
Mr. Brentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy? Mr. Sumter?
Yes on the report as a whole. I have to abstain on item 1B on page 21. Also want to abstain on item 2F7 on page 23. I want to abstain on item 5G1 on page 29.
Mrs. Azuda.
Yes.
Report's approved.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Let's go to the financial and controller reports. Any comments? Mr. Eisler.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. If I may direct my questions to either Mr. Camarda or Mr. Joseph. Knowing that this is a financial report that is ending September 30th, so that we are finished with our third quarter of this year, and taking a look at the 12-month roll forward and where we are, obviously we're showing some positive news in terms of expenditures below what we anticipated them to be at this time, which is always good for any organization, but especially the school district. But it looks as if our, in terms of what the tax base that we are collecting from, both in terms of the real estate and earned income, is looking positive. Am I correct on that?
So the tax base in terms of our revenues are exceeding our expenditures in this month's
Yeah, would you
12-month roll
would you
forward.
just
So I
repeat
agree.
that, please?
Our revenues are exceeding our expenditures.
That's what we like to hear, Mr. Joseph, that the revenues are up and that the expenditures are down, and I think that's great. And thank you, Dr. Lane, and to the team. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mrs. Azuda.
Thank you, Mr. Eisler. Any other comments on that? All righty. Let's turn to new business. We have several new business items before us this evening, and we will be voting on them separately. The first new item business is the resolution on the evaluation of Superintendent Linda Lane for 2011-12, and I would like Mrs. Fink to read it, please.
I'm looking for the, okay, now therefore be it hereby resolved that Linda Lane, in the performance of her duties as superintendent pursuant to the contract, is entitled to the annual compensation set forth in the contract and already agreed upon by the board and superintendent of $220,000 effective January 1st, 2013.
So moved.
Khaleesi, McCray. Any discussion on the motion, on the resolution? Mr. Brentley.
Yes, Mr. Weiss, this is an increase of how much?
It's an increase of $5,000 in Dr. Lane's base pay. Dr. Lane declined an increase last year, but her base pay rose to $215,000. So her increase over her base pay this year, for next year, will be $5,000.
And Mr. Weiss, this 5,000 is tied to different test evaluations, et cetera, it is not tied. It's almost like a cost of living increase.
Dr. Lane's contract provides that the minimum increase to which she is entitled is $5,000.
Okay. And to do that, there is nothing that's really required. It's an automatic contract renewal if she's here. That happens this time of the year.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to say that I will not be supporting this item. This does not suggest in any way that Dr. Lane is not working very, very hard, or that her administration is not working very, very hard. There are major concerns as to what has happened over the last year in the district. I've also shared my concerns over the years. This process is not seamless. It is no transparency here with this process. There are certain board members who have a very, very strong influence in this process, which makes it difficult if you're a board member or a board person who wants to honestly engage or honestly share or honestly challenge what our superintendent has done or has not done. And so for that reason, I will not be supporting it. I will ask again for the outside forces that indirectly still has an influence in this process, that at some point will you allow us, all of us, and then especially myself, the opportunity of being a board member and to be allowed to critically analyze when something is not going right. And so I will not support it when the process is clean, when the process is open, and when the process is free of influence from certain board members, where we can openly and honestly discuss what went well and what didn't went well, then I'll be more than happy. Yes, I did not attend any of the sessions. I did not attend in previous years when Mark Roosevelt was here. The unfortunate part is that these kinds of items, it's almost as if that there's a much higher force that's interested in the PR and making things look good, and we're moving and they're growing and we're doing well and people are getting raises and promotions and bonuses, and that is simply not the case. And so it's going to be difficult to break that as long as we have this unbelievable influence here that represents corporate Pittsburgh. And so I want to, at some point, be able to engage any superintendent. I want to be free of really sharing where I think things could have went or changed, or changes that could have been made, and presently it is not there. For me, it's not. And so once again, does not suggest that Dr. Lane is not working hard, but things are not where they should be. I mean, everything that glitters is not gold, and so I will not be supporting this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion before us. Mr. Weiss, will you take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley?
No.
Mrs. Scalise?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Okay, this new business item passes 8-1.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. The second new business item is a resolution for Superintendent Linda Lane's performance priorities for 2012 and 2013. I'd like to ask Mrs. Fink to read those as well.
Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the board hereby approves the following performance priorities for Superintendent Linda Lane for 2012-2013. Number 1, increase student academic achievement and promise readiness of Pittsburgh Public School students. Number 2, accelerate the performance of underperforming racial groups. And number 3, become a district of first choice.
Eisler Khaleesi. Any discussion on the resolution? Mr. Brentley.
Yes, my comments will be the same for this item as well. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Weiss, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley?
No.
Mrs. Scalise?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy? Yes. Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
The item is approved 8-1.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. The next item before us is the American The next item before us, no. Okay, Dr. Lane.
Thank you.
She's waving to me and everybody's telling me to go.
Right. No, I thought I'd keep waving. Yeah, I would just like to make one comment. First, I'd like to thank the board for the time you took to evaluate my work performance for the past year. And please know that I intend to take both your commendations and the areas you identified for growth as a means to improve my performance, because we talk a lot about effective teachers and how we want our teachers to be supported to improve performance, and I believe that goes for everyone, me included. As you know, last year in the light of the pending furloughs, I voluntarily gave up my salary increase of $15,000, which you had approved. This year, since I did not reach the agreed PSSA goals, my increase per my contract is $5,000. For 2013, I am again going to forego both the previous year's additional salary and this addition to the approved salary per my contract. for the 2 years, which of course totals $35,000 for last year and this year. And the academic team members who are in this room right now, who are also eligible for increments in pay for performance for reaching their goals, have voluntarily made this same sacrifice, and I stand with them. Thank you.
I guess everybody up here is kind of not knowing real sure what to say, so I will make it simple. Thank you. The next item is the I took the glasses off, American Education Week, and Ms. Shealy will read that.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. Acknowledgement of the Commonwealth's designation of American Education Week. Resolved that the Board of Directors for the School District of Pittsburgh acknowledges at the observation of American Education Week in Pennsylvania as designated by the Commonwealth's House of Representatives to be the week of November 11th, 2012, and further resolved that educators, parents, and students throughout the district use American Education Week as an opportunity to focus on the integral role that education plays in preparing citizens of the United States for the future in an increasingly competitive and interdependent world.
Second.
McCray and Eisler, any discussion on the resolution? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Scalise?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy? Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. The next item before us is the resolution dealing with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Mr. Brentley.
Yes, I want to read this resolution, and as I mentioned at agenda review, and I'm not sure, but I can speak, I guess, at least within the city, that I'd like to say that we are one of the first legislative bodies to identify with the ribbons, as well as reading something into the minutes in terms of an actual recognition of awareness of it. And that is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is a resolution of the Board of Education in the School District of Pittsburgh recognizing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas breast cancer affects 1 in 8 women in the United States, and whereas breast cancer is second only to lung cancer and cancer death among women in the United States, and whereas breast cancer knows no boundaries with respect to age, race, religion, and socioeconomic status, and affects everyone, not only the person diagnosed with the disease. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. The Board of Education hereby recognizes and supports Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And number 2, all stakeholders in the school districts are urged to support the efforts to combat this deadly disease.
Sumter Shealy, any discussion on the resolution?
I just also wanted to add that this is so appropriate, and to those who can't see, that if I'm not mistaken, that every board member at this end of the table has their national symbol, I believe, which is the pink ribbon, and I want to say it might even be down at the other end as well. I think it's long overdue when you have a school district that has the majority of its staff are women, and when you have a school district that women are extremely well represented just at this table alone, not only should we be recognizing this, but we should take an active part. And so I'm hoping from this day forward that we would get on the bandwagon early on and to really do some things in terms of educating the importance of women, period, but especially Pittsburgh Public School employees in terms of getting tested, getting information, and then sharing it with family members as well.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mr. McCray.
Thank you. Having had a member of my family that was a survivor, this is very near and dear to me, and I have been wearing my pink all month. I don't know if anybody noticed it. My only suggestion is that we bring this forward in September next year, so we have the entire month that we can remind everybody and wear pink. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Brentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gleazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler? Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. I'd like to ask Mr. McCray to read our fifth new business item.
Resolved that the Board of Directors of the School District of Pittsburgh authorize its proper officers to enter into settlement agreement with WG Tomco in a matter filed in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County, Pennsylvania at GD 12-01-3591 under the terms and conditions acceptable to the parties and recommended by the school district solicitor.
Kalazy Eisler, any discussion on the motion? Mr. Brentley.
Mr. Weiss, can you just briefly tell us, this is in regard to what case, and what is the final settlement dollar amount?
This arises out of the Concord Elementary School project. The amount is $67,500, which is considerably less than the demand, and the amount reflects field changes that were requested by the district staff and the plumbing work, particularly relating to stormwater at the site.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry. And this is your recommendation, Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Any other comments?
Mr. Brentley also asked about the amount. Did you, I think he asked for the amount. Did you say it?
I did, but I'll repeat it, $67,500.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Brentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gleazy? Yes. Mrs. Fink? Yes. Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
The item is approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Are there any other items to be brought before the board at this time that require board approval? Seeing none, any other announcements before us this evening? Mr. Brentley.
Yes, I have two announcements I want to make. First of all, I just want to read a resolution that and it's not for vote, so please do not get all worked up. This is something that I have unsuccessfully attempted to pass, at least for the last 6 years, and it's just a brief statement concerning this month, and that is this district's involvement in the celebration of Halloween. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education and the school district is School District of Pittsburgh is asked to change its involvement of the Halloween celebrations to the harvest in the school district, redefining the role of the Pittsburgh Public Schools and focusing on the positive aspects of the celebration of the harvest. I have not been successful in getting this item passed. It is not before you as a vote, but I do want to remind everyone here, unfortunately, we will simply just have to wait until it's here on our doorstep, where unfortunately someone could get tied into some of these negative activities that we promote as a district. A lot of information that's out there now concerning the negative parts of Halloween. And I just think that as a district, and as parents, we're not here to suggest to any family that you should not be participating in Halloween. I am here in this resolution for the last 6 or 7 years was an attempt to limit our involvement in advocating and the celebration of it because of what it stands for. Just recently, you heard in the news of an individual, a child being shot, mistaken with had on the Halloween mask or some kind of costume. As far as the district is concerned, the irony behind all of this in terms of the district supporting it is that we're telling our children every year, do not get involved with strangers, you don't take anything from strangers, and you never go anywhere with them, except one day out of the year. And we tell them, and we advocate, and we market, go knock on strangers' doors, get the candy that they're going to give you, eat it, and if they don't give anything out, then you trick them. and you throw eggs at their cars, or you do this, or you do that. And that is such a contradiction for a school district to be involved with. Yes, it's minor, but when we advocate it and market it and support it throughout the district, somehow it gives the impression of an endorsement of those activities. And so I have not been successful with getting this passed, and I would ask that all of you would think very, very strong next year about our role. And it's a simple transition. The school districts across this country are making the transition from Halloween, it's to the celebration of the harvest. And that is a whole new, almost curriculum. We can teach our kids about the importance of harvest and getting involved, the greenery thing, everybody's onto that. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but I think that we should not be in the position that we are in terms of promoting it, supporting it, and then advocating for it. So that is one. And then the final one that I wanted to mention is a week and a half ago, I've met with a handful of individuals and who are very, very strongly about what we were unsuccessful to do at last month's meeting, and that is to call for a full investigation into the handling of Shenley High School. And what we were able to come up with is there is a wonderful website that simply, it's an online petition where anyone can read the narrative, and then you can simply sign up for the petition. We all know, we all agree that there's something awfully strange that happened with the information, lack of information around the Shenley closing in 2008. So this petition is a real simple process, and I'm asking folks to check it out. www.change.org. Screen comes up, small box, you just type in Shenley. There's a wonderful piece that will explain to you exactly what happened and what's going on. And as a board member and as a taxpayer, at the very least, you should want an independent investigation as to why things happened, why we were misled, and especially with the new information that's come forward, you should be outraged as a taxpayer that millions of dollars were spent based on this cover-up. So we're asking folks to go to it, and you have an option. You can read it, and then you can sign a petition. You can also push a button to say, I want my name to be public, or I don't want my name to be public. Roughly a week and a half, this thing was started, and we are over 500 signatures. It's amazing. If you do nothing else, but off to the left, there's a space where individuals are able to give their reasons. Some of these reasons will actually bring tears to your eyes, from alumni to former employees to neighbors who are actually talking about how outraged they are that we can do this without a full investigation. So I'm only asking folks that you go in there and you read the comments, and then if you decide to please sign the petition. Originally, we were shooting for, we wanted to have about 500 by the end of December, and we've already reached 500. So now we're going to move that target to at least 1,000 signatures. So please sign up, and thank you to those students to bringing the key forward, because hopefully we can use that key to unlock the cover-up that took place with the closing of Shenley High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mrs. Khaleesi. Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley.
New business? Announcements. I have a few announcements. Today I had the opportunity to, yesterday and today, had the opportunity to go to two very wonderful conferences. The first conference was the National Summer School Conference, where our children were highlighted both yesterday and today. It was a wonderful experience to see our students, even though Summer Dreamers did not come to East End. I won't ride that horse again. But it was wonderful to see the children there, and also people from around the country who are very interested in extended learning opportunities for students. And I think that our city did a wonderful job in hosting this particular conference. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Wilson and also Ms. Mercedes Howes for the fine work that they've done for the summer program. That's Mr. Eddie Wilson and Mercedes Howes. Also, today, Mr. McCray and I had the opportunity to go to a wonderful conference. I only stayed for a couple of hours, but Mr. McCray stayed for the entire duration for a conference on anti-bullying. And it was a wonderful event as well. I want to thank Carol Adams for bringing that to Pittsburgh, and the FBI and other police officers and Hampton School District for actually hosting this activity for us, for Allegheny County. I just want to say that bullying is a major problem in this country. We need to be looking at it more effectively and dealing with it more effectively in our school district and also throughout Allegheny County. But I just want to say it was a wonderful conference. We got some really good information, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to participate.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. Eisler.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. Just a few quick things. Had the opportunity to attend the Council of Great City Schools annual conference and their key performance indicators. I did talk with Mr. Camarda and Mr. Joseph about this. We are ranked very, very high as a financially well-run school district, and I think that speaks well to the work that they do. And again, thank you on behalf of the taxpayers of this city, because one of the key responsibilities we have as a school board member is for the fiduciary responsibility of the school district, and we have to take it very seriously. So I want to thank you two and all your staffs for the hard work, and it's good to be recognized. The second thing is that on Monday, be in Harrisburg for the annual Early Learning Investment Council with the governor. It's basically made up of business leaders, and as always, Pittsburgh's role as a school district in early childhood will be highlighted. Even though we had some cuts, Dr. Lane and her staff did incredible work for maintaining our early childhood program, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the highest kindergarten admission classes we've had, which I think is really a very, very positive statement for parents who start with us in the pre-K programs and continue into kindergarten, and we hope beyond. So I want to thank again Dr. Lane for that. And the last thing is, and I think it's really troubling, but it's something that I wish there was a lot more discussion in the community about. We've experienced in the school district some pretty serious events with our children. And I want to thank, again, Dr. Lane and her staff for the work they've done in a number of the schools with our children, with our teachers, and with our parents and community. There have been some really very, very serious things that have happened to children, and again, tragic situations, and I just want to thank the staff for doing it. Thank you, Mrs. Azuda.
Thank you, Mr. Eisler. Mr. McCray.
Thank you. Dr. Hawley almost covered the InfoGuard conference without me. But we also talked about school safety at the conference. There was a great deal on that, and there was also a good deal on what Mr. Eisler was referring to. But I just want to leave the students and everybody with one thought that I bring back from here. Stop and think before you connect. Everything you put on the internet is going to be there forever. So, and they were referencing, the different pictures and things like that. But it's something you really have to think about. Stop and think before you connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Mr. Sumter.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Azuda. Every 10 years, the City of Pittsburgh has a responsibility of drawing city council lines and redrawing school district lines according to the change in population within the census, and they always want to make the district lines have the similar population numbers. It's called reapportionment. There's a reapportionment committee that will be meeting at Ailey Wiles School on Tuesday, October 30th, and I believe the time is 7 p.m. 7:30? Okay, well, 7 p.m.
Yeah, get there early.
So you can make sure you're there on time, but 7:30-ish, but try to be ahead of time. But This is an important process that we go through, and it determines the district lines for the school directors that are on the board. Again, October 30th, 7:30 p.m. at Aleo Wild School, which is located on Center Avenue in the Hill District, 1 block away from downtown, from Kirkpatrick and Center Avenues, one of the crossroads in the Hill District. The other announcement, as always, invest in our children's future. Please give to the Pittsburgh Promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. Ms. Shealy. I have two things to just bring up real quick. First of all, several of us had the opportunity to attend the Pittsburgh Public School Band Festival this month, and it was absolutely fabulous. Wonderful to watch all our kids down at the field at Couple Stadium, and a reminder of how important the arts are to us. And also our MWBE team had a business extravaganza to form some partnerships with potential vendors, and that was very well received. It was a wonderful day. Today I got an email, or yesterday I guess I got it, from Commander Scott Schubert of the Pittsburgh Police, and I would like to read it. On Wednesday, October 24th, which is today, members of the City of Pittsburgh Bureau of Police will be participating with PennDOT and numerous other law enforcement agencies throughout the Commonwealth during the 16th annual Operation Safe Stop. Operation Safe Stop is in conjunction with National School Bus Safety Week, which is October 22nd to 26th this week, and is a proactive approach to educate the motoring public that passing a stopped school bus when children are loading and unloading is both dangerous and illegal. A reminder that Pennsylvania's school bus stopping law requires motorists to stop at least 10 feet away from school buses that have their red lights flashing and stop arm extended. Motorists must stop when they are behind the bus, meeting the bus, or approaching an intersection where a bus is stopped. Motorists following or traveling alongside a school bus must also stop until the red lights have stopped flashing. The stop arm is withdrawn and all children have reached safely. Just a reminder to everyone, keep our babies safe. There are no further additions. Mr. Brentley.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add one thing. I've just been handed a note, and I'm taking it to be accurate, but I just want to mention that I understand at Concord School, the principal there has already sent a note home telling the kids that there will not be any focus on Halloween, but focusing on education. And if that is true, congratulations to the principal. And hopefully at some point, we would be able to pass a policy where it is part of the policy across the district. And the name, I believe, is Miss Coulter, who is the principal. So that's a wonderful thing, a very safe thing to do on behalf of the students that's attending here.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mr. Sumter.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. I want to again thank my two fellow Shenley alums for bringing the key and other memorabilia here from Shenley High School. Thank you very much for preserving that, and hopefully we'll guard it and keep it from this day forward. And also, folks, don't forget to vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Any other items? Motion to, Mr. Eisler? Eisler, Shealy. All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Do you need a minute?
Just to mark the time. All right.
All righty. I'd like to call the October 24th, 2012 meeting of the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit to order. Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call, please?
Brentley?
Here.
Here. Mrs. Fink?
Here.
Dr. Holly?
Here.
Mr. Eisler?
Present.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Ms. Shealy?
Here.
Mr. Sumter?
Present.
Mrs. Azuda?
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Will board members please turn to the minutes from last month? Are there any corrections, additions, deletions? Mr. Eisler.
Move to accept.
Eisler, Fink, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Okay, Ms. Shealy's abstaining. All righty, we'll go to the Committee on Education. Thank you for keeping me honest. The Committee on Education is before us. Are there any questions? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Let's move to the committee report on business that is before us. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Weiss, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. We'll now move to the personnel report that is before us. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Weiss, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Bentley?
Yes.
Mrs. Khaleesi?
Yes.
Mrs. Fink?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mr. Eisler?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Ms. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Sumter?
Yes.
Mrs. Azuda?
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
Was that personnel?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other items to be brought before the board at this time? I guess Sumter and Shealy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody, very much for your cooperation and effectiveness.